All right, so we're gonna take the back wheel off now, pull off the tire, pull out the tube, then put it all back together and put it back on the bike. It's daunting for a lot of people, but it's not actually that hard. Our first step is to switch into the outside cog on the back. Then we're gonna release the brakes. Then we're gonna remove the wheel, and then we'll actually remove the tire. So if you aren't already on the outside cog in the back, switch to it. Then you're going to release your brakes. For V-brakes, it's as simple as squeezing the brake arms together and pulling out that metal noodle, and then your brakes are open. That will let you get the wheel out from between the brake pads. Now we can just flip open this quick release skewer. Once that's been flipped open, you don't even have to spin it. Your wheel will just drop straight out. So I've taken my cap off. If you've already got a flat, then you won't need to release the air in your tire. If you're just changing the tire or something like that, then you'll need to let all the air out. This can sometimes be easier if you just grab one of the tools and push in on the valve. All right, now our tire is totally flat. We're just gonna go around and we're gonna squeeze the sides of the tire all the way around. That loosens the tire and makes the next step much easier. So you'll take a tire lever, you'll hook it and pull up the bead of the tire like that. Then you'll take your second tire lever, go down a couple inches, do the same thing, go down again, flip it up, flip it up. After you do that a few times, now the tire will be loose enough that you can just take one tire lever and run it around the edge of the tire, and now your tire is free, and it actually will just slip right off of the rim. So inside of the tire, you have your tube. If it's flat, now you can replace it or patch it. We've got our tire off now, so we're gonna put it back together again. Here's our valve stem hole in the rim. I'm just gonna put one bead, which is the metal edge of this tire, back on the rim. And so now I have the tire half on the rim. And I'll take the inner tube. It's got a bit of air in here right now, so it holds its shape nice and round. That's what you want. If you don't have any air in it, then use the pump to just give a couple puffs so that it's round. Put the valve stem in first. And then you just take the rest of the tube and just slide it into the tire. This is much easier to do without having it twist or bunch up if you do have a bit of air in it. So now it's just in, and I can just make sure that it's on the rim. And now I'll just start opposite my valve stem, and I'll start just sliding that second bead of the tire fully onto the rim. Make sure your valve stem is coming out perpendicular to your rim. If it's not, you can often just adjust the tire one way or the other to make sure this is coming out nice and straight. I've got my bead of the tire nicely sitting on the rim around both sides. One last step that you'd want to do to check before you start inflating this wheel is to pull back the tire and look down. Make sure you can't see any rubber from the tube. If you see the rubber of the inner tube when you pull back the tire, you can go all the way around and check on both sides. If you see that rubber, then you're likely to cause the tube to explode if you try to inflate it. So if you do see that, then you want to take the tire off and remount everything. Try it again. You also want to make sure that there's tape here covering up the holes where the spokes are. You want to make sure that all of that is nicely covered so that you're not going to get a puncture from the inside of your wheel. If all of that's good, then you're ready to inflate that wheel again. All right, so we'll take our pump head and we'll attach it to the valve. If your tire is quite flat, you'll often have to hold the valve head from the back so that it doesn't retreat into the rim while you attach it. Flip that lever up to lock it in place, and now we can start inflating. All right. So I'll put my valve cap back on. Valve is coming out nice and straight. Now I can put the wheel back on. Now if I haven't spun the quick release at all, this is going to be pretty straightforward, although it can daunt a lot of people. So I put my thumb on the back of my derailleur and my fingers here and pull back. I hook that chain onto the outside cog where I had left it when I took the wheel off, and I just lift the wheel straight in. Then, once your wheel is in, if you haven't been turning this at all, you should be able to just close that quick release lever and have the wheel secure. This should be tight enough that it leaves a bit of an imprint in your hand while you're closing it, but it also needs to be fully closed and not sticking out at all. If that's not true, then your wheel is not properly attached and it's not secure or safe. Now that your wheel's attached, you can also reattach your brakes. Again, for V brakes, it's as simple as pulling those brake arms together and sliding this metal noodle into the hook. And then you want to spin your wheel and pull your brakes to make sure your brakes are still good and they're not rubbing on your tire. The final step is to make sure that you've properly aligned your wheel when you put it back in. And you want to do this on the front or the back wheel. Put the bike down on the ground, open the quick release skewer. That'll let the wheel settle up, all the way up into the dropouts and be properly aligned. And then you just close the quick release again. Check to make sure that your brakes aren't rubbing, and you're good to go.